The reason monk mode fails for most people is because they treat it like a mood. They get inspired, they feel disgusted with their current life. They watch a video that makes them want to disappear for 90 days and come back unrecognizable. And for a moment, it feels powerful because the fantasy is attractive. No distractions, no wasted time, no weak habits. Just you, your goals, your discipline, and some future version of yourself that everybody suddenly respects. But that is where a lot of people get it wrong. They fall in love with the idea of monk mode before they understand the architecture of it. Because monk mode is not magic. It is not a personality. It is not a hoodie, a dark room, a gym montage, and a playlist. Monk mode is a designed environment. It is a launch protocol. And if you don't build it properly, you don't transform. You just isolate yourself for a few weeks, burn out, and return to the same life with slightly more guilt. The best way I've heard this explained is with the idea of a launch. So I heard Iman Ghazi speaking about this. I'm shamelessly taking this idea from him. The idea of astronauts before they go to space, they have a period like a few months where they're just preparing to launch and go into space, and they know obviously when you're in space, well, one there's no returning, right? There's no returning at that specific point. You've gone up there to do what you need to do, but also the environment is very different. So in order to get into that mentality, they need to kind of mimic the environment they're going to have up there here. You know, they have a launch date, so they have a date that they know, okay, cool, we're going to go to space on this day, so we need to be ready. In order to be ready, we need to do this and that. Cool. In order to do that, let's create an environment where that becomes the goal, and for like a couple of months, that is all they're focused on, right? I don't know the details, what astronauts get up to, but the idea remains the same. There's a goal, there's a date that it's going to finish, and they need to prepare for that, right? And I think that's very important when it comes to monk mode, because a lot of us, when we watch videos on monk mode, it is just kind of something exciting to do. It's like, oh man, it would be so cool, if I could just be locked in, no distractions, I could just hide away from the world and just build myself, right? But we don't treat it like a mission. We just treat it as just something uh, nice to do. And I think that's the second part I want to speak on in this is you got to be intentional. So again, I think that's why the astronaut analogy is so pertinent, because they have a goal. There's a specific date. First of all, there's a date it's going to end. But that monk mode has a purpose. It's not just monk mode for the sake of monk mode. It's not just me hiding away from the world so I can enjoy being in isolation and feel like I'm being productive. There's actually a day that's going to come, a day of reckoning that's going to come, where all the work you've been preparing for actually comes to fruition. And that's the important part within monk mode, right? Is that we need to be intentional with it, right? There needs to be a date where it's going to end. There needs to be a certain goal it's achieving, and there needs to be certain steps that are being taken to make sure that it's being achieved. You want to get to a place where you can measure. I know that there's this idea that you would have known if you've watched any kind of self-improvement video, especially back in like the 2010s or in the late 2010s. The SMART goals thing, right? One of the things is that it's specific. Okay, it's specific, measurable, and then you've got attainable. I forgot what the R is, and then there's timely. But specific and measurable is so important, because that's where our goals kind of fall apart when we're not measuring them. And for me, this is one of the good things I've learned just from like working in a very tough environment, right? Like I work in audit, and it's a lot like if you imagine somebody working as a lawyer. Like your hours are just like you need to answer for your hours, or you're gonna get crapped on, right? And it's just this thing of like, cool, you can be planned on an audit, say for a few weeks, right? You have certain tasks you're supposed to finish. When that audit finishes, and it's not even just at the end. It happens depending on obviously the structure of the team. It can happen on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever. But you best believe there's going to come a time when you need to answer for all the hours you spend, right? It's like, what's your output? And it can be very difficult, like answering that kind of question, because it puts pressure on you to actually like get stuff done, and it doesn't take into account, all the other kind of fluff that affects your ability to get the job done. But the mission remains the same, right? You've been planned for this amount of time, you spend time working on this thing, where's the output? And I think it's important for us to bring that into our monk mode, just into life in general, honestly. And I think this is one of the things that separates people that actually achieve things and people that don't, right? Because we can all dream. We all want to be something specific, right? We all want to level up or whatever the case is, right? We all have things we want. But the difference between those of us that get those things and those of us that don't is, I think, intentionality, right? Like people that want to get something, they hold themselves to a specific standard and they measure that. And I think that's an important thing to have in monk mode, is that monk mode isn't just there for you to just have a period where you can just um, disappear and just not be there. Like, cool, you know, you're disappearing for a purpose, right? But when you come back, make sure it's achieving what you wanted to achieve. And I think that the other part that's very important as well that we don't take into account in monk mode is that you need to choose in advance what will suffer. And man, I remember listening to it's Chris Williamson. I remember listening to his podcast, and that's why I learned this thing, you know, choose in advance what will suffer. But there's also this thing he always says about how you can have anything you want in the world, but you can't have everything. And I think that's an idea that's lost in our current day and age. We have this thing of like, you know, you can get everything you want, don't settle, yada yada yada, right? You can achieve the world, but it's just not practical. And I think it shoots a lot of us in the foot. Geez, my nose is a bit congested. Let me just drink some water. But that idea of choosing in advance what will suffer is very important, because I've heard David Goggins as well say another variation of this where he says you need to be unbalanced for a while. And I know it comes across, you know, it's coming from someone like David Goggins, it comes across as actually unreasonable. And it's like, oh, you need to be like just all in, like not taking into account, you know, the challenges you're going to face in life. But it's true. Like if you want to achieve a certain level of success, you need to be unbalanced for a while. So just picture somebody who wants to be like really successful in a business, right? Because this is kind of the number one analogy for this, right? It's like a hustle culture thing, right? Just somebody wants to, you want to build something like a business. That kind of person isn't going to build a thriving business and have a crazy social life and be jacked, you know, and, you know, be getting optimal sleep. Like there's just not enough hours in the day to do all of that. And you need to choose in advance. Cool. Think of it as like video game sliders. You know, you've kind of, I don't know how to explain this picture. There's this one picture, it's like a circle, and it's kind of got all the attributes. You know, it's got shooting, passing, dribbling, physicality, defense, whatever, whatever. And it kind of like draws a diagram where it's like, you know, if the person's got like 99 shooting or whatever, it's like right close to the circle. And then if they have like 50, it's like closer to the middle. Think of it like that. You know, you've kind of got that circle. Or let me just use video game sliders, because I think that picture is a lot more translatable for people watching. Think of video game sliders where it's like, cool, if I want to go up to 99 over here, I might need to drop a little bit over here. And if I want to go, and it's just playing a balancing game, and not, oh, you need to have a balanced life and all that stuff, right? Because what you're trying to achieve is not easy, right? It's gonna require significant focus and resource investment. I think that's the word I'm looking for. You're gonna need to invest your time and energy into specific things, and you can't achieve everything at the highest intensity at the same time. You just can't, right? You need to kind of stagger it. You'd be like, cool, for this season, I'm going to be focused on building this thing. This is going to be my number one thing, and then I'm maybe going to have these two things that I'll try to like keep up. Then this thing is just probably just going to fall to the wayside for a bit. And you need to decide what that is. That's part of being intentional. What are you trying to get out of monk mode? And then the other part is the dark side of monk mode. When it comes to monk mode, I think a lot of people don't realize how addicting it is, because it can become so easy to just use it as an excuse to pull away from the world. It's supposed to be this thing that you're kind of taking out all distractions so you can actually focus on building what you want to build, right? Building something specific. But you become so addicted to the fact that, oh man, I actually don't have to show up for my social obligations or go do this, and that. I can just chill by myself. And that becomes dangerous, because now you never reintegrate, right? And I'm just trying to look for this quote that I actually have here. Yes. So without being intentional, which is kind of the whole theme on this monk mode thing, right? Monk mode just becomes vague isolation with better branding. Private practice only matters if it eventually becomes public performance. Monk mode should train you to return stronger, not give you an excuse to hide.